Hello and welcome to VI Hippie Chick Online Unit Studies feature Politics for Kids. So if you are part of my homeschool student vote group, I know you've been patiently waiting for this to start and it's finally here. And you're probably wondering, why aren't we talking about BC politics? Very good question. And the answer is simple. There's still too much up in the air. I will get to a discussion on confidence votes because that is the next step in this whole process of what's going on with the minority government situation that we have going on. But first, there's a very important situation, actually two situations now that have arisen, one in Nova Scotia and a very similar situation in Ontario that I want to discuss with you that brings up a huge, important discussion that will become the foundation for all of our discussions going forward. And that is that politicians are people and people make mistakes. And why this is important is because sometimes the mistakes that politicians make, we can actually learn from and we can apply to our lives, even if we never ever go into politics. So the mistakes that the politicians in Nova Scotia and the politician in Ontario have made recently is this. In Nova Scotia, a couple politicians who were running in the recent provincial election that just happened yesterday, which actually went a whole lot smoother than BC's election, they had to actually drop out before the election because of tweets that they sent out that weren't very nice. And, well, it cost them what had probably been a lifelong ambition. And in a similar fashion, in Ontario, an MPP, which is the equivalent of our MLAs, he got kicked out of his party because of comments, repeated comments that he had made at different functions throughout his riding, or there were different functions around town. So now, in the Nova Scotia situations, they were tweets that the politicians made themselves, and in the case of the MPP, they were comments that he made, but then were recorded by other people and circulated through the media. So what's the life lesson that we can apply to our own lives? Well, for one, social media can never, ever, ever be fully deleted. Because the tweets and the video, in one case for the Ontario MPP, all of this was 4 to 5 years old, and it resurfaced this year. And it ended up hurting their careers. So, even though in Nova Scotia they tried to hide it, didn't hide it very well, because you can delete it off your accounts, your computers, but somewhere along the line, it's on some server in some cloud somewhere. And in the case of the Ontario MPP, we live in a world where lots of people have smartphones. Almost everybody has a smartphone, which means that almost everybody has a video camera, which means no matter what we do, there's a possibility that it can be put on camera. Like, let's not even take into account the security cameras that we can pass by. These are just average Joe citizen. You do something funny or silly or even really kind of dumb, somebody could capture that on video and post it online. And that means that down the road, when you're applying for jobs or going to college or university, potential employers and potential schools could see that. They could look at you and say, you don't fit in with our company or our school, and take somebody else. Because that's exactly what happened to the politicians in Nova Scotia and in Ontario. The parties of these politicians said, you don't fit in and you can't be a part of our party. And they were let go. So, what are you supposed to do? Well, treat each other kindly, equally, and fairly all the time to the best of your ability, and you should do fine. And try and keep your silliness and craziness to a minimum. I know, you're kids. Trust me, I do silly, crazy stuff all the time. And I'm really glad that nobody's capturing it on camera yet. Because otherwise, you guys might not want me to be teaching you anymore. Anyways, until next time, I'm VI Hippie Chick.